Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. This video is about a video from a podcast, I believe it is, called DW News. The video was titled that violence against women is being ignored by the powerful, or something to that effect. On the screen, you have a picture of my ex-fiance. That should be labeled on the screen, as well as three of the women on the video. The fourth female was like an Indian activist who had a web camera image being projected, and it was blurry, so I decided not to use it because it's hard on some people's eyes. And I have some problems with blurred pictures and stuff like that, and covertly edited images, right? They covertly edit all my video looks, what have you. So I decided to take that route. First of all, it's important to note that one of those females on the podcast look a lot like my ex-fiance. And it has to do with the fact my ex-fiance was Greek, and she's mixed with, black and Persian and Greek and Roman. She's actually said she's part Greek, part Italian, what have you. But it also has to do with the fact that I'm targeted, and they do stuff like that, okay, depending on the target's significance, right? Gang stalking, right? Gang, stall, king, right? Delay, D-E, lay, right? Wordplay, P-lay, okay? The mere human rules, customs, and traditions reflect that people are, dealing with life as if it's a game. They're not living life in reality. They're just playing a stupid theater arts game. Of course, the Greek theater, Dionysus, who's a young Zeus, who is a deity of ritual madness, theater, religious ecstasy, grapes, wine, harvest, fertility deity, a deity of rape during religious frenzies, and what have you. Really, rape in general is a young Zeus. Rape by deception. Zeus changes form. The bull, the eagle, the swan, what have you. So, the video is where I got this statistic of about 1 million females being murdered each year. They said it's like 990,000 or so. It's a lot of people, right, being flat out killed. They said most of the time it was by their partner or a family member, right? Revenge killings. And they said, the powerful in the title are ignoring it. Now, notice that they put the powerful into one group, and I do think they're right to do it that way. That's what you do, right? If you're talking about a problem coming from a group of people, you would say, hey, the powerful are ignoring it. Now, there's a spectrum of people in that grouping that are ignoring it less. But as a group, they're ignoring it. Whites, Jews, and LGBT people as a group are exerting more power than other groups, certainly in the West. And they're disproportionately to blame as groups with a spectrum of guilt in those groups, right, for the problems in the world. To not discuss things in a way that reflects that you understand this and you're putting blame where it belongs is stupid. Okay? When the Romans crucified Christ in the story, do you blame Christ for not keeping his mouth shut? I mean, that's dumb. Or do you blame the Romans who crucified him? When a female is raped, okay, because she keeps hanging out with horrible people and going out late at night, you place blame according to their deeds. You blame society according to its deeds, the governing class. You blame, the mayor or whoever's responsible for the policies there. You blame the teachers, the community for not raising her better. It takes a village to raise a child, as the story goes. You blame that female as well to whatever degree she deserves to be blamed. And you try to help her in the way that is the most logical, regardless of people saying things like don't slut shame and don't blame the victim. If you're trying to help somebody, you try to help them. Someone has a brain tumor, you cut into their brain, right? You give them brain surgery to remove it. You don't say, I don't want to hurt that person. You remove the tumor. So as we look at this situation, it is very astounding that has occurred. I don't think these people understand the situation very well. I don't think they know who I am. Maybe they do. There's other people who these people resemble that I've come across in life and on the internet, what have you. And that's key there too. The female who looks like my ex-fiance, okay, whose picture's right by hers. She looks like she's a PSYOP person, right? She works for the CIA or for some German intelligence or, English intelligence, UK, what have you. MI5, whatever it is. Maybe works for the Mossad. Maybe works for all of them at the same time. Maybe some kind of intelligence agency contractor. But they have that kind of PSYOP look. Just like my ex-fiancée did. I knew there was something suspicious about my ex-fiancée. I didn't trust her all the way. Almost every time we talked, I wanted her to reassure me that she would never leave me. And she swore up and down that she would never leave me. When you swear to Christ, whether you know he's Christ or not, that you're not going to leave him, and you leave him, that is a serious crime against humanity. But first and foremost against God and Christ. Let's look in terms of the Bible. If people couldn't even touch a dead body and then go to, a religious meeting or enter into a religious camp, okay, how much more is the planet defiled when they shun the Son of God who's among them? Emmanuel, God among us. He's right there, the word manual, right? Emmanuel and manual. The manual for how to live your life. The basic instructions before leaving earth, what have you. When they shun me and they pretend that the miracles are magically literal and not figurative, they're insane. People who are around these days are so arrogant that they think that the Jews who lived around Christ didn't understand what he was saying, but they do. If anything, it was the other way around. They tried to stone him because they understood more of what he's getting at than the reader does, most of the time, unless the reader is me. They don't speak the same language. They don't hear the actions of God, which is the voice of God. God speaks through nature, and society manipulates nature to confuse that speech. God speaks through my martial arts, and they edited my videos to try to make it look LGBT-like, more whitish and so on and so forth. And, I'm not white when I do martial arts. I'm part white in terms of flesh. They try to confuse these things. So when we look at the podcast, first and foremost, and I'm sure they don't mean it this way, God and I are the powerful. Violence against women is occurring as part of the punishment for mankind's rebellion against God and women submitting to wicked males and having their kids and their kids come into the world, and some of their kids kill the other kids who are shunning me. All these women would shun me. They would see that the government is targeting me, and they would be afraid to date Christ. That crime is far deeper than the crime of killing someone who's afraid to date Christ. And it's very sad that society doesn't acknowledge that. Why would they deny this? First of all, if you're going to pretend all people are equal, why do you lock people up then? Force them on psych meds. You take away their rights. Why don't you do it to the next person? Because they're not equal. Then you might say, okay, well, if that person had committed a crime, we'd arrest them too. If a person deserves a medal, you would give them that medal if everything was equal, right? And if you give medals to other people. If a person is the most righteous person ever, if we're all equal, then you should understand my worth. They say, know your worth. Cultural values. Your culture is guilty because your cultural values don't include putting me first. The throne is established in righteousness. You have 380,000 plus churches in America alone. But do you rally to me? No. If we were equal, you'd rally to me. Because the throne is established in righteousness, not mere human rules, customs, and traditions and labels. You say, well, I'm a Lutheran. I rally to the Lutherans. Well, I'm a Catholic, and I go to the Catholics, and so on and so forth. But all of them are supposed to obey God through me. I'm in charge. They say punk ass shit like, be careful. No, you be careful. I'm Christ. Who are you? Who the hell are you? Who do you think you are? It's who I've proven I am versus who the fuck do you people think you are? And yes, the rich are scum that are ignoring the violence against women because they don't put God and I first. It says in the Bible, fear the Lord and the king. Fear the Lord and the king, and the king, and the king. my son, and do not join with rebellious officials. To fear what will happen if you cheat me out of my right to lead is part of fearing God, because God put me here to instill the fear of God in you, and the fear of rebelling against God includes rebelling against me. Proverbs 24:21, I think it is. Fear the Lord and the king, my son, and do not join with rebellious officials cheating me out of my right to lead. Now, which one's the king? It tells you in Proverbs 16:12. The throne is established in righteousness. Not in some Pharisee saying, I think he's the king, or King Herod saying, I'm the king, or Caesar saying, hey, I think I'm the king. But who is actually the King of Kings? Do not fear Herod, Caiaphas, or Caesar. Do not fear Trump or anyone else, or the leaders in Germany or anywhere else. Fear God and I, because it will be God and me at his right hand who will be judging you. And I'll be sitting on the throne that God set apart for me to sit on to judge the human race. The sheep and the goats, the tares and the wheat, what have you. So as we look at this podcast, okay, and what they're saying, some of the things they're saying are important. They're also a good example of wolves in sheep's clothes. And I hate to say it that way, because I know that in their minds, they're doing their quote-unquote best or something, but they're not doing their best. If Juliet was some punk-ass spoiled brat who's willing to die on the drop of a hat rather than be without Romeo, then how could you be doing your best? You females look like you're tougher than the idea they propound as Juliet. But you're not willing to stand firm for what's right? What's actually love, not some emotions derived from the psychological construct like some little girl playing Barbie dolls? Like some little dumb bitch? Stand firm with me, the Son of God. Don't stand firm with psyop bullshit, but stand firm with me. Matthew 10:22. You'll be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. If you're not hated by everyone, so to speak, if for nothing else, if you're not persecuted for righteousness' sake, then you're just a little slut that never grew up. Now you tell me, are your marriages valid? If you're a little slut that never grew up, you never developed to be the type of woman that could have a valid marriage, are your marriages valid? No fucking way! No way! No how! What are you kidding? Next you marry a horse marrying a cat and then you think it's valid. 2 newborn babies and you think it's valid. What? You think age alone makes it valid? You think some punk-ass priest in rebellion that God hates with all of his being validates your marriages? Some preacher? Some occult pussy? Pretending to represent God? Who follows a book that I detest instead of the Son of God, who God loves? Are you people so dull, so naive, so gullible, so stupid, that you listen to mere neo-colonial dogs instead of the top martial arts ever possible? Are you raised by sluts and dogs?